Alright guys, welcome back to EVil and Intoxicated Ted. What episode number are we at right now?
Eddie, we are at number 60.
Wow.
60.
So this is a big episode for us, so thank you for tuning in, whether you're tuning in to the live stream on Ted Czech's YouTube channel or if you're just tuning into the podcast on iTunes and Podbean. We appreciate it. We have so much to talk about. I'm EVil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, my MMA news, and of course, the infamous one, Ted Czech, above me here in the video cast. What's going on, Ted?
Yeah. Hey, Eddie. I'm doing good, man. Yeah. We had some time off, and because were we on last week or were we not on? I can't even remember. So much has happened, but yeah, we're chugging along with this year and kind of coming towards the end of it. But we have some big cards to look forward to, so I'm excited, man.
You know, and tomorrow right here in Connecticut, right here on the East Coast, we have Bellator with Gegard Mousasi making his debut here at Mohegan Sun Arena. I might be going to that. I'm not sure yet. I know a couple of my listeners, like Jody's going to be there, so maybe
Jody.
Jody, yeah, you remember Jody?
Jhody,
yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, Jody.
Oh, she's there. Oh, I didn't know she lived in the New England area.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's from like Massachusetts, I believe.
Oh, okay, nice.
So we got that going on, Gegard Mousasi, but a big thing about this Bellator fight card, Ted, was a lot of people fell off of it, so that's a big stink for Bellator, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people tuning in. It's going to be a Friday night. And then, of course, we have Cowboy versus Till, which we're going to be previewing at the end of today's show. We have so much to talk about today, though. Between Mark Hunt, Ted, I forgot to bring that up before we went on. I want to briefly discuss that with everybody. Mark Hunt getting pulled from his fight with...
oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's very important. And just all this conversation about Conor McGregor versus Paulie Malignaggi in boxing. I brought this up with you when I went on iHeartRadio. They were all for it. I got a couple things that I want to say. I want to scratch your head on it as well, so we have that to look forward to. And there's been some great fight announcements that have come into play this week as well.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, lots to talk about.
So we're gonna wrap the show up with this weekend's fight card, our predictions and whatnot. Then I kind of want to look forward into the future as we, like Ted just brought up, we have an exciting end of 2017. Hopefully we have a better 2018, but for what it is, for what 2017 was, the end of the year looks like pretty strong if everything stands. The injury bug doesn't come around. But you know how the MMA gods are. But Ted, let's jump into today's show. Before we even start, I just got to give a shout out to our friends over at Submission Radio. I sent them a picture. I was listening to their show the other morning, Submission Radio podcast. They're from Australia. And I was Aussie yogurt, and they're like, dude, that's awesome, but there's no such thing as Australian yogurt here.
Wait, so you were eating Australian yogurt, but it doesn't exist?
Yeah, so I got this stuff called Aussie, like Aussie yogurt. So like you think it's like, oh cool, I'm gonna try yogurt from Australia, and they're like, there's no such, like it's just regular yogurt here in Australia.
Yeah.
So I got tricked.
We got a lot of people checking in on the chat room here already. Henry Ford, Uncle Hank's drinking buddy, Stewie Griffin, Orlando Castro, Michael Anzalone, Billy Crozier, Drunk Savage. Yeah, that's the crew so far.
So guys, if you are in the live chat room, or even if you're at home, listening to this on the podcast, whatever, make sure you're following us on Twitter, because that's where we do most of our conversations when we're not here in front of the camera. Make sure you're following me at EVil_Echo, that's EVIL_ECCO, and follow Ted at Ted Czech, that's TEDCZECH. So Ted, I think we should start today's show off with a little staph infection talk, because it looks like everybody's getting infected.
Well, yeah, I mean that I did a live chat earlier this week, and I said, is this some type of epidemic or whatever? I don't really think it is. We've always had staph infections, even before there was MMA. It's in wrestling. It's has to do with rolling around with dudes, hashtag no homo, but it has to do with rolling around with dudes on the mats and getting all sweaty and stuff. You know what I mean? That's where you're catching it, and it's communicated, if you will. But yeah, we had Kevin Lee with what I called a hickey from a toothless hooker. That's what it looked like he had there on his chest, and he admitted that he tried to use makeup to cover it up. and I guess either the doctors fell for it and didn't notice, or they noticed it and figured he could fight anyway because they signed off and they said, yeah, he's cleared to fight. The other thing, though, is that I learned from I can't remember the name of the website. It's a website. It's an MMA and law website. That's like combat sports law or something like that. But anyway, they said they got a copy of Kevin Lee's medical questionnaire, and he did not say that he had any type of diseases, nor was he taking any medication. So, he lied, basically. He lied on that questionnaire. That's another way that he hid it. Not only did he try to hide it with makeup, but he hid it as far as what he, didn't admit to. So that doesn't look too good.
Yeah, but I don't blame him. I mean, this was one of the biggest fights of his entire career. If he did beat Tony Ferguson, he was going to have, that golden ticket to fight Conor McGregor. But as soon as he walked out, I mean, it was so noticeable. I don't know who was brushing him up with makeup, but they didn't do a very good job, because as soon as he walked out, Joe Rogan was like, what is that on his chest? I mean, just right. It was so obvious that.
And DC said, he said, is that staph? And DC goes, yeah, I think that is staph. And
pointed it right out.
DC said he had a producer in his ear telling him, no, shut up, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because they knew it was going to reflect negatively on the UFC. But I mean, by that point, they had already said what they believed it was. And you've got DC, who's a very accomplished wrestler, so he should know staph when he sees it.
I mean, and another thing is there's been so many main events that have fallen out. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson. I mean, even on the same card, Ted, we had, Verdum's opponent, Derek Lewis, drop out just hours before, the Octagon doors opened up. So it really was already a hit for a pay-per-view card. If you dropped off the main event, it would have bombed. And it really did bomb even with it.
Yeah, and I think for Kevin Lee in particular, I don't know if he was concerned about whether the card would bomb, but this was the biggest fight of his career.
Yeah, yep.
Right? I mean, this is a chance to win the interim title and then possibly fight for Conor's title. So, biggest fight of his career right here,
So also, Ted, what's going on in the chat room? What are they saying?
Okay. Here's the latest thing. I just saw this. I forgot to tell you, but I saw it just before we went live. Lil Nog just got busted by USADA.
No.
Yes, he did, and he was scheduled to fight. I can't remember who, but he did have a fight coming up. I think it was against Jared Cannonier.
Now he's been busted before, right? Or his brother's been busted before?
Let's see. I'll tell you what. I'll look it up real quick. I don't know if it's here. Yeah, he was scheduled to face Jared Cannonier on December 16th, UFC on Fox 26. However, he was pulled from it after being flagged by USADA for potential violation. And I'm trying to look back real quick on Wikipedia here to see if he did get busted before.
And if you guys don't remember who Cannonier is, remember Chase Sherman's last fight. It was one of the fight of the nights, one of the best performances on Chase Sherman's UFC run so far. That was his opponent that night, and both guys really put it all out there, just swinging for the fences, trying to put on. So that fight would have been awesome. I mean, a Lil Nog versus Cannonier. It's a shame that fell through.
Yeah, but let's see. And so, I don't know at this point if there is a replacement. I have not read. But yeah, I don't know about Lil Nog. I don't know if he's been popped before. Go ahead and I'll see if I can find that out.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people out there that were wondering what was going on with Lil Nog, because he was on a couple fight losing streak, I'm pretty sure, until he had that fight down in Brazil where he had an amazing finish over, I forgot who it was, down in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the same night that Chris Cyborg made her debut.
Well, we had another, we had connected with this whole staff thing. Pat Cummins was supposed to fight Corey Anderson at UFC 217. Pat Cummins has pulled himself from that because of a staph infection that he's suffering from, and he said that I think it was on his Instagram that he's taking IV medication and it's not working. and this card is coming up like what, 3 weeks. And he's like, hey, you know what? I can't do it. And Corey Anderson got really upset and sent him a message back saying, oh, hey, just cut it and drain it and elevate and everything should be fine. I spent all this money or whatever. All my friends and family are coming. It's like, I mean,
it's a shame.
I think Pat might have been looking at the Kevin Lee situation and thinking, I don't want to put the UFC in that position. I don't want to put Corey Anderson in that position. Plus, probably like it's tough to be fighting an infection and then try to fight somebody else at the same time. It just brings down your energy levels and everything. So he's not going to be. No way would he be at 100% in that fight. So wisely, he took himself out. Corey Anderson got all unhinged about it. He got triggered, and he should be one to talk because he's got the he's got the gyno going on there. So he's just lucky he hasn't popped for anything.
I mean, it sucks both ways. Like, he was just saying, I got family coming down. I spent a bunch of money on this fight camp. But when you're a professional fighter and you're in the UFC, you can't really risk something. If you don't feel like you're going to be at your 100, at least 80% at what you're best at, I wouldn't take the risk. I mean, you have a lot to lose. You're only as good as your last fight. We hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but Corey Anderson shouldn't be crying anymore because now, or maybe I don't know. What would you do if you were Corey Anderson? Would you be happy that OSP has jumped in because now you have an opponent, or would you be kind of bummed because it's OSP?
I mean, a win over OSP at this point would be pretty nice. This guy's coming off a couple wins for Von Flug choke, so he's in the public eye. A lot of people are familiar with him. He's been on a couple of recent cards. He fought John Bones Jones. He didn't beat John Bones, but it's a big win. It's a big name. So,
right. What I'm saying is, I mean, I would think that like Pat Cummins is good, but basically at one thing, and that's wrestling. But you put a guy like OSP, I would put him above because he's more well-rounded. So I don't know that Corey Anderson is happy right about now. He may not be.
Hopefully this all gets situated. We don't have any more of this injury bug going around. Hopefully people are going to start cleaning their mats because this whole staph infection thing is just absolutely ridiculous. It just sucks, man. It sucks when people are getting kidney stones and backing out of fights like Matt Mitrione. I mean, just like all these little things where you just got to keep, your hygiene. It's really just hygiene. So it's unfortunate, but shit happens.
That's why fighters clean the mats all the time, and then there's soap that you can use to kind of be proactive about this to protect yourself.
I think Paige Van Zandt just had an infection not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. I think it was staph. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
But hey, Ted, I think it's time to talk about what's on everyone's mind, what everyone's wondering. Conor McGregor versus Paulie Malignaggi. Now, this is something that came out earlier in the week. It's not anything new. This is something that has kind of been in the shadows of Maymac. But it seems like Paulie Malignaggi might have signed something, made an offer. But then again, is that what we want to see? I mean, do you want to see Conor McGregor go in there to fight a retired boxer again? Or do you want to see him in the octagon?
Yeah, no. I mean, what I read, Eddie, maybe you read something else, was that supposedly Paulie said that Dana White and I guess it was Al Heyman, or no, maybe it was Al Heyman or somebody, a representative of Floyd Mayweather, were talking. That was the extent of it as far as I knew. So, but I was like, should I do a video on this? Should I not? But in the end, I kind of blew it off because I don't want to focus on that. I don't think it's going to happen. Conor has said he wants to fight in the UFC. He's back in the UFC, so that's where I'm coming from. And in talking about who he's going to fight next. Is it going to be Nate? Is it going to be Tony? Is it going to be Habib? That kind of a thing. So that's kind of where I'm focused. I don't know. What do you think? I didn't hear anything definite. Supposedly, Paulie was saying, and it wasn't on one of the major websites. It was on a kind of a lower level website. They were saying that Paulie said that Dana and somebody from I said Floyd before. Well, no, actually, it's a guy that I guess it was Al Heyman because he's a manager or something
of both Mayweather and Paulie.
Yeah. So somebody that's in some way connected with Paulie. But that's what I thought I heard.
Well, if you're looking at one thing, like, you can make a lot of money. The money's definitely there for the Paulie fight. The whole Nate Diaz thing, that's something that could happen at any time. It doesn't really matter, but I want to see Conor McGregor defend the title, and the only way to do that is to fight Tony Ferguson. So I don't really want to see Conor McGregor step in there. And I've brought this up on our show before, Ted. After the Mayweather-McGregor fiasco went down, iHeartRadio asked me to come on, and these are people who are casual fans who don't really watch fights unless it's worldwide, grabbing worldwide attention. So, they're asking me, do you want to see Conor McGregor fight in boxing? And I said, absolutely not. They want to see it, though. But I had to bring this up. If you want to see Conor McGregor, if you want to know what all this hype is about with Conor McGregor, you want to know why he's a two-time champion, you want to know why all these people are freaking out about Conor McGregor, then you don't want to watch him inside of a boxing ring. You want to watch him inside the
guys
cage.
on iHeartRadio. Who are they?
Vinny Penn. Vinny Penn on iHeartRadio 960.
Vinny Paz?
Vinny Penn. No, not Vinny Paz.
Penn, like BJ. Is he related to BJ Penn?
Nope, unfortunately not.
Oh. So he's a boxing fan. He's not really an MMA fan.
He's just an entertainment fan. Who whatever people are really talking about in sports, he's going to talk about. You know what I mean? He's going to bring out the topics that people want to hear. Excuse me.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So if you're looking at it from the casual standpoint, I don't know. Maybe Paulie ran his mouth enough to grab these people's attention.
Let me ask you this: is he aware of who Nate Diaz is?
Well, obviously he watched the last fight because he was familiar with. He did a show on his last fight, but I don't think he knows. I don't think he can name his last 3 opponents and stuff like that.
But he knows Paulie Malignaggi.
And I think the only reason is because of all the interviews Paulie was doing and the hype on social media. But at the same time, Ted, he's another retired boxer. We saw the sparring footage. That's a big thing we didn't even mention. We kind of saw the outcome of, we didn't see Paulie going through. Here, I'm back.
Okay.
But I'm saying the sparring footage we already saw. So do we really want to see the fight? Do we want to pay another $100 to see that? Doesn't grab my attention.
Eddie, let's check in with the fans. Let's see what everybody's talking about in the chat room. I'm taking some major heat here for not going to these guys, so we got to give them their props. Let's see here. Paulie barely speaks English, says Uncle Hank's drinking buddy.
Oh my God! Every time I listen to an interview, it sounds like he's on 2 times fast forward. He's like, oh my God.
Bring your balls. Don't forget your balls. Steve Google says, Fallon Fox is still my boy. He's still my boy. Dig Doggity Snoggins. That's one of the best names I've heard. D Doggity Snoggins. It's right up there with Belvin Flipmunk.
And Toonces.
And Toons, I don't know where Toonces went. But D Doggity Snoggins says, I would rather be forced to watch masked thugs have their way with my sister with my eyelids held open than watch a fight with Paulie Malignaggi.
It's so funny, Ted, because after the Mayweather-McGregor fight, Brian Phelps, who's the Olympic swimmer? Michael Phelps. He posted a thing that he's going to face Conor McGregor in a swimming match. And it's kind of like that same thing. Do we want to see Conor McGregor outside of his element again? I mean, we already kind of saw it, him moving up a weight division, him fighting Nate, but then he's going over to boxing. What next he's going to do? Archery. I mean, come on. Let's get back to the real sport, and let's see Conor in the octagon where he belongs, where we're going to see the best products that he can show us.
Stewie is asking me if you, Stewie Griffin saying, Ted, is that your son? No, that's Eddie. That's EVil Eddie. No. Let's see. Oh, Billy Crozier is saying fake news, talking about this whole Paulie and everything. Fake news that probably came from that little ES News grunk. That guy, what the heck is his name? That dude, ES News. Ailey Sekback reporting. That dude.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
He's Ailey Sekback. and he goes, Eddie Ted back, be birdie.
I have no idea.
You don't know. I don't think he's Swedish, but he ends up signing. He goes, Eddie Ted back, be birdie. But anyway, let's see. So what do we got here? 1973 TD talking about MMA Share, the site that I used to be on. Share is sleeping these days. That's because they don't have me. That's why. And let's see, what else? What else do we got here? That's about it. So I wanted to check in with these guys. And yeah, MMA Holes has a good idea. He says we should all make a deal and not talk about Conor until something is in writing.
And that's what it seems like. I mean, there's just so much confusion. There's so many contenders. So let me ask this to everybody listening or watching. Who do you want to see Conor McGregor fight? Do you want to see him fight Tony Ferguson? Do you want to see him fight Khabib? Because apparently, Ted, Khabib has been offered up to Edson Barboza.
Yeah, the last I heard was that Edson said this is his story. He said, look, I accepted the fight. So now the ball's in Khabib's court. What does he want to do?
It's hard to get excited, though.
What's that?
It's hard to get excited about Khabib. I mean, this is a guy that was out for 2 years, came back to fight Michael Johnson, had a great performance or whatnot, but then hasn't been able to show up for his last 3 fights.
Yeah, pull-out merchant, right. But he was also saying, Khabib was also saying he wanted to see, he was trying to play matchmaker. Did you see that? He's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Conor versus Nate 3, and then I will take on Tony. Like, he was trying to, like, you know, he's trying to be all slick and make moves. It's like, dude, where have you been? You've been stuffing your face with tiramisu. You can't just come in here and think that you're running the table.
You know, Ted, they were onto something while they were going through the Mayweather-McGregor before that fight happened. Conor and Khabib were going back and forth, and Conor was like, you know what? I want to fight Khabib in Russia. And I think a lot of people jumped on that and kind of expected that to be the call out after the Mayweather McGregor fight happened, but that's just been really quiet lately.
Yeah, he said that, and then there's been a lot of other things that have been said. So I don't know. The scenario that I see is, okay, so you know how, and maybe we should close with this and move on.
I agree.
I think the crowd is the crowd has spoken, so we got to give the people what they want. But the scenario that I see playing out is, okay, remember how Conor said, I don't want to do any promotion. I'll fight in late December, but I don't want to promote the fight. Well, of course the UFC is going to need him to promote the fight.
Yeah.
To pull in everybody they possibly can. So I think they should defer that fight, defer Conor until St. Paddy's Day, and have him fight either in Boston or in Dublin on St. Paddy's Day. In the meantime, have Tony and Nate fight to determine the true #1 contender.
I'm from here on the East Coast, Ed. You're from here on the East Coast. Boston is just a train ride away. It would go crazy. I mean, St. Patrick's Day here on the East Coast is crazy. This is a great idea that you bring up here, Ted. I love that idea. People go bonkers for St. Patrick's Day.
On St. Patrick's. What's that?
People go bonkers here for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, if they have it in on St. Paddy's Day, you can have a long build up to it. Maybe have a world tour, the whole thing, like they did with Conor and Jose Aldo.
I just had to reestablish the connection, but we're all good here. Let me just end with this, Ted. Is everybody as excited to see Conor McGregor fight again? Because honestly, we've kind of seen some holes in his cardio, so to say. So are people still as excited? Are they still picturing Conor as this unstoppable god? Because to me, and I'm a huge Conor fan, you guys all know this, I don't know if I'm as excited as I once was for Conor's next fight. I'm just not. I might get heat for it, but I don't know.
Kind of softened on him, huh? Kind of.
And shame on me though, because this is a guy who is, stepping out of the sandbox to try something new. So, there's a risk there when you do something like that. So I understand that, which is why he needs to step back in the octagon and defend his title. So I'll end it with that.
All right. Yeah, let's move on.
We got Ann checking in.
Ann is here.
What's going on, Ann?
How do you know?
I pulled it up on my phone.
Oh, did you? Oh, nice. Yeah, so Michael Anzalone wants to see Robin Black versus Skip Bayless.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Skip Bayless would bludgeon Robin, but Robin Black is a former fighter. I think he had a.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had some pro fights or just amateur fights.
I think they were. Yeah, I think they were just amateur or smokers or something.
Yeah, 3 or 4 fights or whatever.
So Ted, I know we don't got to spend a lot of time on this, but just to bring it up, Chris Cyborg is not happy. She has been tested for what she's saying is nonstop by USADA. I don't know if you saw this, but Holly Holm made a video. She was like, "Bitch, I've been tested just as much, if not more." So, it just seems to me like Chris Cyborg just keeps complaining about things, like left and right. The UFC not treating her right. And I do side with her at some points. What's your take on this? Is the UFC treating her fairly? They offered her less money to fight Holly than they did for Tanya Evinger. None of that even makes sense. So, does she have a reason to be complaining?
Well, let's see. If I was reading this, I saw this chart for USADA tests, and how many fighters have been tested within the past year or whatever. Holly actually leads. She actually has been tested one more time than Cyborg. So I don't know what Cyborg is complaining about. Holly hit 9 times, Cyborg 8 times. So did you see the Holly made a response, and it was a very calm, mature response, and she said, "So while Cyborg's getting all bent out of shape, I'm just going to continue training." And I was like, "That's my girl." You know what I mean? That's my girl. She's one of my favorite. I mean, you want to talk current female fighters? She's number 1 for me. Misha probably all time, or maybe Gina Carano. But current UFC female fighters, Holly is it for me. You know what I mean? What a sweetheart. And instead of crying about stuff, instead of whining about stuff, she's just a quick response, get right back to the training.
I mean, what's the big deal about being tested by USADA? I mean, you just got to give them a urine sample. So, what's the big deal if you got nothing to hide? There's no reason to be tripping, spilling your piss all over the place, or even be complaining about being tested, in my opinion, right?
I don't know. And then there was that whole mess in Thailand. Remember, Cyborg was over there, and USADA, I guess, sent some people, and then somebody from Cyborg's camp called the cops on those guys. And you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
That was kind of insane.
Well, there's
Uncle Hank is saying if Cyborg were a hot chick, she'd still be annoying.
I don't think Cyborg's that bad. I mean, if you look back at her older photos, she was actually really pretty before her body kind of turned into a sculpture, so to say. I mean, she's not bad. She's not bad looking.
A sculpture. Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's been some changes. We'll put it that way. That she's undergone, and yeah, she did look a lot different years and years ago.
After Dana White, I mean, it really scarred me. After Dana White said that Cyborg reminded her of Vanderlei Silva walking around in a wig, I could never look at Cyborg the same after that. That's like what I picture every time I saw Cyborg, and it's just so mean. It's so mean, but that really painted a horrible picture in my head that really never went away. So now every time I see Cyborg, I think of Vanderlei. Even when I see Vanderlei, I think of him with a wig on. I mean,
so
identical, Ted. Identical.
So maybe Cyborg is still remembering that, and she's thinking, they've always had it in for me, maybe that's where she's coming from. Cyborg does as her boyfriend commands, says Billy Crozier. That would be magical, Ray Elby.
Ray, our boy Ray Elby.
Ray
Shout out
Elby,
to Ray.
Who once wrote me something on YouTube calling me rude because I did a video about his girlfriend.
About his girlfriend or about his dick?
Both. Well, I mean, Cyborg isn't the one who broke his dick. That was a different girlfriend.
Imagine what Cyborg would do to it. Damn.
Oh, Ann says she had to take her cat to the doctor to the vet because a possum attacked him.
He's still got 6 stitches There was lots of blood, and you know what? It's so funny. Before I even stepped on here to do this podcast, Ted, I was watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it was the UFC episode with Cowboy, Donald Cerrone, and Paul Felder. And I was on my Instagram. I went live, and while I was shooting it to show people just like a minute clip, my dogs got into a vicious fight right there on camera. So you guys want to go check out my Instagram at Pure Evil MMA. I almost got bit tonight by my dog. So I hope your cat feels better tonight. I'm sure they gave her some kitty cat Percocets, so I'm sure she's sitting there purring on your lap. But it's scary when two animals fight, man. I get nervous. I mean, Ted, you were just attacked by a dog a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. But I that was by choice. I meant to do that.
A trained killer too.
What about you say your dog almost bit you? Like, why?
So yeah, I got Oscar here. He's sleeping next to me right now, and then I'm at my mom's house right now because, as you guys know, I'm going through relationship changes. So, you know, I'm in between living spaces. So I got my dog here, and we're my mom's dogs, and they're very territorial about.
Something else said he. All right.
Now I'm back. But I'm saying that the dogs get very territorial now that I'm over at my mom's house.
Okay.
So they get a little vicious. But, you know, moving forward, Ted, Cyborg, does she have a reason to be complaining? Because I even went into a Reebok store to see this because somebody told me earlier. I went inside Reebok, and there was not a single fight kit to be found anywhere. Apparently, you have to only order them off the Reebok website, which, I mean, it just seems like such a shit deal. And they don't even have a Cyborg fight kit yet. I mean, this is one of your champions. This is one of your leading female fighters, and you don't have a fight kit for her, let alone you guys are spelling the names wrong. So I just don't like this whole Reebok deal. It does seem like Cyborg has some reasons to complain, but this whole USADA thing and complaining about being tested, I just don't understand.
Oh, sorry. It's just I keep getting these guys that say that their accounts are being copied. Have you ever had that happen? Like, you're doing a live stream and then somebody's like, hey, so-and-so, stop copying my account. You just made a fake account. And then you got the other dude going, no, you're the fake account. You know, they both got the same avatar and everything. Like, no, you're the fake. No, you're the fake. Delete him. No, delete him. I'm like, you guys battle it out. I'm not involved.
No, I've never witnessed that.
Okay. It's probably all the same dude. So it's all the same guy.
Imagine that.
It's all the same guy. I mean, that's you know.
There are people out there like that, though. There are
What's
people.
that?
There's people out there like that. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore, Ted. Nothing.
Yeah, man.
Nothing.
That's
surprises
true.
me.
Filthy George. I don't know who Filthy George is. Stewie Griffin is saying it's Filthy George. Darth Bane is saying somebody has made a copy of his account. Tanner says he wants to make a Darth Bane account.
Ariel Hawani made a fake MMA holes account. That's great.
So yeah, I don't know what's going on. Everybody's having fun copying everybody else's accounts.
But yeah, Ted, moving on, there's a couple more things that we definitely need to discuss. But, you know, I got to ask you really quick, what did you think about UFC 216? Because it did not get that many pay-per-view buys. UFC 215 didn't get that many pay-per-view buys. The Ultimate Fighter Season 26 is getting the lowest views. I mean, it's just been such a rough year, man. So, you know, how did you enjoy this weekend's card? And are you looking forward to this upcoming weekend's card? I mean, where do you stand? Are you still committed? Are you still you know, excited about these fights because they haven't really been paying off? I mean, to the casuals at least, but there's been some great fights.
Yeah, see, I mean, you know, I'm concerned about you know, how the UFC does to a point, but as a fan, I haven't, you know, my interest has not waned one iota. You know, I look at the fights. I mean, yeah, I you know, you catch things about, oh, you know, this event made 100,000 buys, and this, you know, the other pay-per-view made 125,000. It's really, really low. Okay, you know, but we've got some great cards coming up that are probably going to do really well. And if you just look at, you know, action-wise, you know, excitement-wise, Ferguson versus Lee. You talk about 216. Ferguson versus Lee was a great fight. Of course, Demetrius Johnson, winning the record for consecutive title defenses with the flying plex bar, if you will. Fabricio Verdun with a quick arm bar over Walt Harris. Actually, we had how many arm bars? Well, we had
three in a row, man. We had 3 arm bars in a row.
It looks like a rear naked choke, an arm bar, and a triangle choke.
Okay, 4 submissions in a row. I knew it was something along those terms.
5 submissions on that main card, which is amazing. So yeah, I mean, Lando Venata versus Bobby Green.
Phenomenal.
That was fight of the night.
Why wasn't that on the pay-per-view card? Why wasn't that? Even I just don't understand. They threw those 2 girls on there that not many of us knew, and it was a decent fight, but I mean, who wants to pay to watch that fight?
I think I questioned that. I think I might have said something like Lando and Bobby should have been on the main card. I mean, I think it was. Just my gut reaction was, well, somebody felt it necessary to put the women on. Like, we can't have a main card without at least one female fight.
I don't think they care about that, though. They have entire cards without girls on it for weeks.
Well, that's the only explanation I can come up with, because neither one of these women are very well known at all. And you can't even look them up on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I remember you brought that up. They don't even have a wiki page.
Right. Still don't. Neither one of them. So why else would they... And it wasn't like a contender fight or anything like that. So why else would they be on the main card, except that somebody said, well, geez, we've got 5 fights on the main card. Let's make one of them a female fight. Like, we have to. I think somebody somewhere felt obligated because of political correctness. That's the only thing I can come up with. Because why else would you do it? There are no names. Why would you do it? Why wouldn't you want to stack your main card?
So let's end this conversation off with a quick rating, because I feel bad we did not rate this card yet. On my prediction, man, I did pretty well. I got only 2 fight predictions wrong. So all throughout the night I did pretty well. I gave this card a 4 out of 5. Ted, what were you giving it?
3.5.
3.5. Wow, really?
I mean, it was good, but it wasn't fantastic. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to be a little judicious with my, I mean, you gave it a 4, I gave it a 3.5. I thought it was good, but not great, but still entertaining.
So moving forward, I think it's only right that we discuss Mark Hunt. Ted, why don't you take the lead for this one?
Oh, Mark Hunt. Okay, so the deal with that is that I don't know how well. All right, the bottom line is he's been pulled from the UFC card that they're going to have in Sydney, Australia. He was scheduled for, I think it was going to be the main event, Mark Hunt versus Marcin Tybura. He's been pulled from the card. The reason for that is that, according to the UFC, the reason is that he wrote a story for an online website or whatever, saying that he suffers, sometimes he stutters, sometimes he has memory lapses, sometimes he has trouble sleeping, things of that nature. Things that, would cause you to think possibly, maybe, given his profession, that maybe he's suffering from some type of brain damage. So the UFC actually cited that. They said, well, it's because of this. We weren't aware previously. He writes this thing, so we didn't know up until that point. He wrote this thing, so that's why we removed him from the card.
Then again,
Mark,
Ted,
go ahead.
The UFC is matching this guy up with people who are popping for steroids, like Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir. So how concerned are they? I mean, or is it really just trying to get back at Mark Hunt because he is suing the UFC? I'll let you continue, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, yeah, that's Mark Hunt's contention, is that they did that, and I would be willing to bet that the UFC would say, well, we had no idea that any of these individuals were on steroids until they tested positive, or of course we would never have matched Mark Hunt up with them. But what his case, he's trying to say that no, they knew, they were complicit, they knew beforehand, and they if they didn't encourage this type of thing, they turned a blind eye to it. So he says, they knowingly matched me up with 3 guys.
Especially the Brock. Especially the Brock fight. I mean, they gave him a pass on that.
I think they did. Because it's my belief that they knew beforehand, and yet they knew that Brock tested positive beforehand, but they let him fight anyway because they needed to preserve that main event. Otherwise, UFC 200 would have tanked.
That was a big deal when that fight news broke about Brock Lesnar, and Ariel is the one who really stirred the pot with that one. But they needed Brock Lesnar for that card, and if that fell through, I mean, UFC 200 could have been a disaster. I mean, it already was with the loss of John Bones Jones, so losing Brock Lesnar would have been big. So I do believe that the UFC did know something. I'm going to agree with you on that. So it just doesn't seem fair. I mean, for them to pull Mark Hunt, I understand that he's, making these statements, and it is scary. For them trying to say that they're looking out for him while they're also matching him up with these guys who are popping, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem sincere to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're saying, and I mean, I can see it. Mark Hunt is saying, hey, the reason they pulled me is because I have this lawsuit against him. But since he filed the lawsuit, they have matched him up with people. He has had fights. It's not like when he filed the lawsuit, they just said, you know what, you're not going to fight for us anymore. I
don't think they thought that Derek Brunson was going to lose, though. I think they gave him Derek Lewis, thinking that he was going to lose, and that, at least that's what I think.
Sorry, I'm just. All right, so let's see. Well, I'm just going to check in with the folks here. Stewie Griffin is saying he's actually more excited for Bellator than the UFC this weekend. I mean, let's take a look at that real quick. You want to get into that right now, or?
Yeah, jump right into it. I mean, that's an event that's going down right here in Connecticut. Gegard Mousasi, which is another fighter that wasn't happy with how things were going over there at the UFC. He's going to be making his debut. Now, is it weird that they didn't match him up for a title right off the bat and match him up with somebody like Shlemenko? I mean, this is a guy Gegard Mousasi might not win this fight. I mean, I'm kind of siding with Shlemenko. Some people might throw shade at me for that, but I have a lot of reasons to think that Gegard might find some trouble there.
Well, no, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, we've seen what happens when they take a UFC fighter and immediately put him in a title fight. I mean, not to say that it would happen that way every time, like Ben Henderson, but no, I mean, this is a great fight.
Larkin.
Yeah, it's a great fight. Alexander Shlemenko versus Gegard Mousasi, and more than likely, whoever wins this fight is probably going to be the new #1 contender for the title. I mean, excuse me, Bellator's middleweight division isn't as deep as the UFC's. So, and these are, you're talking about Shlemenko, a former champ, and Gegard Mousasi, a highly skilled, very successful fighter at 42 wins. Only 6 losses and 2 draws. You know what I mean? So I think whoever wins this fight is the next guy to challenge for the title.
And he's fought in other organizations as well. He's already looking past Shlemenko and, talking about winning the title and then even moving weight classes to take on another title. I mean, he's already overlooking, in my opinion, tomorrow's fight. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see. We know what happens when you overlook those guys over at Bellator.
Right. Not a good idea. I agree. Then the next fight down is, of course we know the Gracie name. So we've got Neiman Gracie, who's 6-0. Then a guy named Zach Buccia.
Oh, Zach Buccia. Yeah, he's been on. I've interviewed him quite a few times on Pure Evil MMA podcast, my personal show. Same here on this channel on iTunes, Podbean, if you guys are listening. So if you want to go back and check it out, Zach Crash Buccia, he's always putting on exciting fights, and I'm happy that he's on it because we've lost a lot of fighters on this card, like our Irish Brennan Ward, who's no longer going to be fighting. Who else dropped out, Ted? Do you see anyone else that dropped out? I know there was a couple fights that fell through.
I didn't read any news about that. As far as dropped fights, I thought that wasn't it AJ? What is his name?
AJ McKee.
AJ McKee. I was gonna say AJ McLean. Isn't that somebody else? I don't know. I thought he was on this card because wasn't he gonna fight the Irish guy? Well, now he's not even on the card. It looks like. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been an exciting. I don't know if that was the matchup, but I know Irish Baron Ward fell through. I don't know if it was against AJ McKee. Who else is on this card though, Ted? Weigh-ins went down today. I believe everyone came in on. I don't
recognize anybody else. I got to be totally honest with you. Christina Williams versus Heather Hardy.
That's the one.
The boxer. She's that boxer that's coming over, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and then Marcus Surin versus Ryan Quinn. I'm not ringing any bells there. And then Lisa Blaine versus Anna Juleton.
And I'm interested to see how Heather does tomorrow night. A lot of people are interested in her. But the one thing that I've been waiting to see with Bellator is that 0-0 fighter that trains over with Conor McGregor for jiu-jitsu. What's his name?
Oh, Dylan Dennis.
Dylan Dennis. This is a guy with such a big ego. He has an 0-0 record, and he just thinks he's going to destroy people. He's making statements like, I get paid more than the champions over at Bellator. The guy doesn't even have a professional MMA fight yet. So I've been dying to see who they're going to match him up against and when that fight's going to go down. So Bellator has a couple of exciting up-and-comers, and tomorrow night, guys, Heather Hardy is who you guys want to be paying attention to because that was a big sign for Bellator. I really like what Bellator has been doing over there, Ted. They're putting together quite the roster, in my opinion, and not just guys who are past their prime. They're getting these up-and-comers and getting them before the UFC does, but at the same time, these are fighters that need to develop their careers a little more, and Bellator is the perfect place to do that, in my opinion.
Hey, Go, our buddy Go, the guy with the green face, has a question. He's asking, why is staff rampant at the moment? I don't know that it really is. I mean, we had Kevin Lee with a highly publicized case, and now Pat Cummins, but we see this from time to time. We do. I mean, you can look it up like on oh god, I forget the name of the if you just Google staph infections MMA, you're gonna see Matt Hamill. Matt Hamill fought in the UFC. They allowed him to fight. This was, probably about 7 years ago.
The Ultimate Fighter Season 3, Tito Ortiz coached him.
Right, and he was at some point, I forget who he was fighting, but he was allowed to fight with a staph infection. So it happens from time to time. I don't think that there's any type of epidemic or whatever. You
guys want to see a really bad staph infection? Go look up. Who was it? Was it Gary Gooderich?
No, Kevin Randleman.
Ted, thank you.
Black guy.
Kevin Randleman. Go look up Kevin Randleman staph infection. If you do not take staph serious, go look that picture up, and that's going to be scarred in your head like Vanderlei and Cyborg was for me.
Yeah, that was a really bad one. Kevin Randleman. I mean, it was like a moray eel had just like taken chunks out of the side of him. It was nasty. I remember that one.
Ted, Steve wants to know, when will there be Ted Czech T-shirts? The Czech Republic wants to know.
Huh? What should we have? Hey, fight fans on it, or it's a great day to be an MMA fan? So I gotta think about that. I thought about it, and then I'm like, I don't know if anybody's gonna be really interested in it. So I never really floated that idea, but Steve brought it up. So maybe there is. And Ann is fapping right now. I have no idea why.
Is fapping? What is that?
Ann is fapping with eggplant.
Oh my god!
And you go do your thing, girl. You do your thing.
Oh, someone's even saying they'll design them for you, Ted. Guess who's going to design it for you? Van Gogh. Van Gogh is in the chat room saying he'll design it for you.
Yeah, right.
Great.
I don't trust that guy. No, I don't trust him as far as I can throw that cabbage head of his.
Stevie Griffin goes, Misa Juice T-shirts.
I don't know. You know what? I mean,
great ideas.
I don't know if Misha would appreciate that, though. She's such a good girl. You know what I mean? She's such a sweetheart. Oh, Steve Google says black guys on steroids have a harder time with staph infections. Lower white blood cell count. King Mo is the same. King Mo did have one recently. Uncle Hank said he'd buy a Ted shirt.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of people. Guys, make sure you send us some good designs on Twitter at Ted Czech. I'm dying to see what you guys can come up with. I mean, even just the slogans of the shirts. I mean, Ted, you have a lot of great one-liners here on the show. I should make a compilation video of some of the crazy things that you say here on EVil Intoxicated, because some of them are priceless.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh, Uncle Hank said he would buy a T-shirt.
You got Stewie Griffin, Van Gogh. I mean, these are some big names that want to rock your shirts, Ted.
I'm flattered. I really am flattered. Go guarantees 20 casuals will buy it. I don't care whether they're casuals or not. Oh, here's Trevin Taylor. What's up?
Always. It would, like I say, every episode. It wouldn't be an episode without that. Thanks for checking in, brother.
Ted with a handlebar mustache. I think Pat Cummins has got that on lockdown.
Or even the Gladiator Rick Glenn. Shout out to him. But Ted, moving forward here, I'd like to get into some fight announcements. There was a lot of great fights that are brought up and that we can look forward to. And I'm going to start with December 16th, which really looks like it's going to be a great card. And I believe it's free. I'm actually pretty positive it's free. It's a fight night. We got Jose Aldo versus Lamas, the rematch. We got Lawler versus RDA. Ponzinibbio versus your boy Michael Platinum Perry. So looking forward to that. Out of those three, which one do you think could be the better fight out of Aldo, Lamas, Lawler, RDA, Ponzinibbio, Perry?
I mean, I'm really looking forward to Mike Perry. I mean, people are saying that he's looking past Ponzinibbio or Ponzinibbio's looking past him. People are telling me don't underestimate Ponzinibbio's striking, and I said I'm not. But this is probably going to be Mike Perry's toughest fight. What? Stewie Griffin, Ted Czech pissing on MMA Holes logo. Oh, like
a little kid on the back of the truck.
Like Calvin Hobbs, like you have the Ford guy pissing on the Chevy, or Chevy pissing on the Ford. Like you see on the. Yeah. No, I would never do that to MMA Holes.
The MMA Holes or the MMA Hour? I could see you piss on the MMA Hour or something like that. Piss on Ariel's face or something.
Darth Bane, I think, is confusing me with Dan Bilzerian. He says, Ted, real shit, do you have PTSD from failing BUDS? As you know, BUDS is what you have to go through to become a Navy SEAL. And that's Dan Bilzerian. He went through BUDS twice, and they booted him because I think he, punched out one of his commanding officers or some shit like that.
Yeah, that dude's crazy, man.
I think Darth Bane has me confused with the Blitz.
Shout out to him. He was actually there in Vegas when those shootings were going on, Ted.
Yeah, that's true.
I won't even repeat what he was saying there. Just very graphic, very horrifying. And the next day, it was like nothing to him. I mean, it's just crazy. That guy lives a crazy life, man.
Crazy he does. Hey, Michael Anzalone is asking, he never understood why everyone dislikes Luke Thomas, but then he saw a few videos, and he comes off really pompous. There's your reason. That's what does it for me. I mean, the guy pretty much thinks that that he's Ozymandias. He thinks he's the smartest person in the world, and nobody else has any views or opinions that are worth anything. He just
I listen to his show all the time. I am a fan of Luke Thomas, but I definitely see what people say. But I do think that he brings up some good opinions and stuff like that, and it's just part of his character. I think it works the best when he's in a group like on the MMA beat. But I can see why people aren't too fond of that. And I've even had media members complain to me when we're covering fights and Luke's there, just how he acts or the things that he'll tweet afterwards, like just kind of bashing the media, really bashing the people that are working alongside him. So,
I tell you, if I was ever invited on that show, I would. I think I would disagree with probably every single thing the guy says. You know what I mean? I bet you I would.
I would love to see it. I would love to see you and Luke on a show together.
No, it wouldn't be pretty.
All right, but moving forward with fight announcements, Ted, Ali Quinta versus Paul Felder. This is one that really caught my eye this week. This could be this has fight of the year written all over it, as the all the ingredients for fight of the year at least.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Ali Quinta was at least he was gunning to fight Raging Cajun Johnson, because they were gonna fight to see who would keep the Raging moniker, because they're both you got Raging Ali Quinta and Raging Cajun Johnson. So, but I like this fight probably even better. Paul Felder and Ali Quinta.
Way better.
I mean, that's a striker's delight right there.
Striker's delight.
Right. Yeah. So, Uncle Hank says I'm swole.
Every time I hear that, I think of our boy Chris over there. But also on that card, it's going to be going down December 2nd, Ted, at UFC 218. Tisha Torres versus the Karate Hottie. So that card's shaping up to be something to look forward to.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, listen to this rundown. I mean, December 16th, they just said Aldo Lamas, Lawler RDA, Ponzinibbio Perry. December 2nd, UFC 218, Tisha Torres versus Waterson, Ali Quinta Felder. December 9th, Aljo versus Ronnie Yaha. Cub Swanson versus T-City. December 30th, UFC 219, Gokhan Saki. We just found out got his second fight in the UFC against Khalil Roundtree, Ultimate Fighter vet, trains over at Syndicate.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. I mean,
it makes sense.
Saki, go ahead.
It makes the most sense, because you don't want to match Saki up with a guy that's going to bring him to the ground and make it a boring fight. You want somebody that's going to stand and bang, because that's exactly what we can expect from Saki. And Roundtree will stand right there and bang with him. So I love everything about it.
Right, and I mean, people were criticizing Saki because of his lack of cardio. Hopefully he's got that on point. Hopefully he goes back to the drawing board and fixes that.
I just love how he throws strikes. It just seems like he's throwing curveballs. He literally, it's like all the way from the side. It's almost like he's doing a dab. Like, it's so weird.
the dab punch, huh?
Yeah. Go watch Gokhan Saki's a fight and keep that in mind. You'll see what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's the Turkish Tyson.
He slings him.
That's what they call him. And his, if I remember correctly, I mean, his takedown defense was on point.
Yeah. Yep.
For that fight. So he really, that was my thought was, he's got the striking. Take the striking, set it aside, and just focus on your takedown defense. That's what I would have done. And it looks like he took my advice. No, I'm kidding.
UFC Japan, man, it really might be one of my favorite cards of the year. I mean, no one really paid much attention to it, but if we go back and look at some of the fights that went down that night, it definitely stood out to me. And we're going to be reviewing the end of the year as we get towards the end of December, Ted. And I guarantee you UFC Japan's going to show up somewhere in that top 5 list for best cards. There was just a lot of action there. So we got that to look forward to. I think it was really crowded by the Bellator card. You had Aaron Pico on there with another fight of the year, or knockout of the year, so to say. So, it's just been in the midst of the Maymac. No one was really paying attention to it, and they really missed some great fights. So, if you didn't see UFC Japan, I definitely recommend going back, because Gokhan Saki, man, that was one of the best fights so far this year. It was only his first fight in the UFC, so.
Right. I mean, and when you talk about MMA debuts or UFC debuts, because he did have one MMA fight a few years ago,
and he lost.
But debuts, that was a great UFC debut to have. I'm trying to think. There was another good one this year, right?
Justin Gaethje versus Michael Johnson.
I'm gonna forget Gaethje. I mean, that to me probably, and I almost forgot it, but that to me is probably one of the greatest of all time. I hate to speak that way, but you know what I mean. Gaethje making that his UFC debut. But Saki was very impressive as well. Honestly,
Ted, it was better than the pay-per-view the night after, which was Valentina Shevchenko versus Amanda Nunes, and I still think Valentina got robbed that night. I think Valentina should be the real champ right now, but that's just how I scored it. But honestly, that might be best fight of best UFC debut of all time, but Gokhan Saki right up there with it. So I'm looking forward to his fight with Khalil Roundtree. That's going to be going down December 30th at UFC 219. Now, Ted, November 11th, there's a fight night coming up. We got Brown versus Sanchez. This is another fight that has Fight of the Year written all over it, and it's the last fight for Brown as well before he retires.
Matt Brown's retirement fight, huh?
I mean, we got a lot of exciting fights to look forward to here. Also on that card,
that's
Dustin
what I was
the
saying,
Diamond
man.
versus Pettis.
That's what I was saying. You know, I mean, I mean, some of these cards have been a little bit watered down, but we got a lot to look forward to.
I mean, we were just spoiled in 2016. End of 2015, from the summer on to 2016 was just amazing. Probably the best time I ever had as a sports fan of any sport. We were just spoiled 2015, 2016 MMA, and this year does seem a little slow, but it's not that bad. Just comparing it to the past year, it doesn't look as good, but it hasn't been that bad. Also, Ted, we got CM Punk back in fight camp, but no announced opponent.
Whoop. Eddie, you dropped out again. Can't hear you, man. Eddie needs a new mic.
I get excited and I rip the back out all the time. My bad on that one. But CM Punk, I was just saying, CM Punk is.
Eddie, what's your hand action?
Oh God, CM Punk back in fight camp, Ted, but no announced opponent. What are they gonna do with this guy? I mean, they set him up against Mickey Gall. He blasted through him. Who are you gonna match CM Punk up against in the UFC?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, you remember the rumor from a couple weeks ago where supposedly CM Punk went to Bellator?
No, what?
But that was going around.
That would make sense though.
They would never get rid of CM Punk. He's too much of a cash cow. But I mean, my thing all along has been, I don't know if there's anybody that they could find to that would be a comparable opponent. Maybe drop him down to one of those feeder organizations that they put on Fight Pass and have him main event at a Fight Pass.
Yeah, but they want money out of him, and they could get it too, because you got all the people from the WWE world coming over, and that's sad, Ted. And we're having some weird conversations, and that's a huge problem with people like CM Punk in the scene, which is why we're talking about Paulie Malignaggi versus Conor McGregor. It's because everyone's talking about it, and the casuals will tune in to watch it because they're not well informed and don't understand that you're not going to see the best fight. You're not going to see an actual professional fighter in there. You're going to see Conor McGregor try to box. You're going to see a professional wrestler try to fight inside the octagon. None of it makes sense. Why is everybody all about it? Just none of it makes sense.
Wait. What doesn't make sense exactly?
Why CM Punk is even fighting inside the octagon, and why people are so excited that they're going to pay $60 to pay for him to fight, to watch him fight, when really he doesn't even have any experience as a fighter, and they're going to pay for Conor McGregor to fight Paulie Malignaggi when he's going to be fighting a retired boxer, and Conor McGregor isn't even a boxer. I mean, none of it really makes any sense. If you want to see these guys perform, go watch CM Punk at the WWE. Come watch Conor, headline a pay-per-view inside the octagon. I mean, these money fights are just ridiculous. Making fights just because they're going to make money, it pisses me off, man. It pisses me off.
You've had it. You've had it with that.
I've had it, clearly. I'm ripping the back of my microphone out.
I mean, look, I think CM Punk's he's got one more fight, right? He's probably going to fight one more time, and then we'll be rid of him. You know what I mean? He's in a training camp right now. They haven't announced his opponent, but he he's in a training camp, so hopefully he gets an opponent soon, and then we can, it's kind of like when May Mack was over, and you felt this relief. At least I did. Felt this relief wash over me. I'm like, great, we can get back to MMA now. You know what I mean? We don't have to talk about boxing anymore. F that. Let's get back to MMA. So, you know what I mean? CM Punk, they're gonna use him like a tampon and throw him away, and he can go back to the WWE because I'm sure they'll accept him with open arms. Even though they were mad at him for a while or whatever.
And not to contradict myself, Ted, and I even remember you bringing that up. Like you were just so fed up of even talking about CM Punk leading up to that first fight. But in defense, Ted, I brought this up when it all went down, and that's what I'm saying, not to contradict myself or anything, but I am kind of happy that he is getting a second chance. We waited almost 2 years to see what he was going to be able to do inside the octagon, and it just went by like that. So, give the guy another chance. I said it before in the past, so I don't want to contradict myself, all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But after that, like you said, let him go back to WWE. After this whole Maymac thing, Conor should not be stepping back into the boxing ring. Let's move on. Come on, people.
I think he will. I honestly don't think he will. I think he made $100 million, and I don't think he'll do it again.
People are saying that Conor would make more money fighting Paulie than he would fighting Nate, Tony combined.
Paulie Malignaggi ain't no Floyd Mayweather. He's not a draw like Floyd is.
100% agree.
You know what I mean? No way.
Most people didn't even know who Paulie Malignaggi was before, the sparring drama went down. Really.
I mean, the boxing fans knew about him, but
oh yeah.
And I about him like peripherally. I knew who he was. I had heard the name before, but I don't think Conor will do it. I think he's back in the UFC. And I think that's where he's going to stay. I'm
just tired of these money fights, and CM Punk back in there. I wish him best of luck, but after that, man, I hope that we can move on. I mean, Bellator really is what fits those circus fights. I mean, Bellator probably would have been a better fit for him. I'm just tired of it. UFC, you are the leading professional elite organization. Let's make some elite professional fights for people to watch. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? You want to try things out, go to Bellator. That's all I'm saying. It fits better at Bellator. Kimbo Slice versus Data. I mean, Hoist Gracie versus Ken Shamrock. It just makes sense to do.
I see what you're saying, Eddie. You know what? I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. Here's Jeff. Conor versus Tony. Just make it happen.
Conor versus Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, or I could see, like I said, Conor waiting and have Tony versus Nate. Billy Crozier says, can't wait to see Galore Bofondo ragdoll another 200-pound dude unconscious. He's a beast. Not Pussy Galore Bofondo.
Throwback, Pussy Galore.
Yeah.
But shit. What were we just? Oh yeah, the Tony Ferguson thing. I was going back and forth. Who do I really want to see Conor fight? We were talking about at the beginning of the show. Now that I've really kind of committed to the idea of Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor, I'm a little excited for that. I think that's the right way to go. I mean, I think Conor has a chance to beat Tony there. I think he saw some holes in Tony's game. I mean, he eats a lot of shots. Look at that fight with Lando. Lando dropped him a couple times in that fight. Conor McGregor has that accuracy, but Tony Ferguson is just so unpredictable. And he's just so funky that it would make an exciting fight.
The knock on him is that he sticks his chin out. You know?
I mean, the more I think about it, Ted, the more I want to see Conor McGregor versus Tony. And it's the only fight that really makes sense. I mean, the interim champ and the champ. Come on. That's the only thing that people should be talking about. For people to even think that there's another fight out there, you're just enabling the UFC to make that fight. You're enabling the UFC to make that fight the more you talk about it. Let's stick to these championship fights. Get rid of the interim shit.
All right. So we have a very, very serious question from MMA Holes.
Let's do it.
This actually goes back to a video that I did that YouTube demonetized. It was Justine Kish when she pooped in the octagon. Yeah. So his question is, when is the next? Will we ever get to see another fighter poop in the octagon? My answer is yes. I think we see that every few years. I mean,
what a question.
It was Yoel Poop Romero.
Swamp ass.
He pooped in his purple pants, and right. And before that, I think we had Tim Sylvia, who pooped in the octagon. So, and there had to be at least another one in there somewhere. So I think we're going like every 3 or 4 years, there's a poop in the octagon.
It almost happened to Michael Chiesa a couple months back, maybe at the beginning of the year. You got to think, these guys are cutting all that weight. They got all this stuff in their stomach. They're not, their stomachs are pretty weak at that point inside the octagon. You got all these nerves going through. You walk out, you smell Vaseline and popcorn. I mean, it's got to be unsettling to your stomach. So I agree with you, Ted. It's definitely bound to happen again. Maybe every 2 years. It seems like every 2 years or so, someone poops in the octagon. So, right? Every 2 years, someone shits in the octagon.
2 years? We're going 2 years? Okay. So,
right, the Yoel fight was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was Yoel versus Brunson, right?
Yeah, I think we're going back to 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that because he was so embarrassed. He tried blaming it on the sweat. He was like, "Oh, my purple shorts. It's just sweat." No, dude, that's straight shit.
It's like, yeah, look, Yoel, you're from Cuba, but you don't have brown sweat. You know, sorry, but you don't.
Oh my God, I've always wanted to ask fighters that, like, when you're in there, they're sweating. Even some of the bigger guys. I mean, I wonder who, how the hygiene really is for a lot of, a lot of people are catching staph, so it doesn't seem like the hygiene's up to standard for you know what I mean? I mean, you're clinching with people, you're right there in their armpit, or you're doing a north-south position. You're smelling things, man. It's got to be rough. It's got to be rough for them.
Maybe that should be part of the next UFC Fighter Summit, is to have a seminar on
hygiene. Yeah.
A hygiene seminar.
Yes, please.
Well, Drunk Savage got a great idea. Here's a way to end it all. Have the fight trunks brown.
There you go.
Just
problem solved.
It blends right in.
The new fight kit.
Oh, and you blend. Oh, Tanner is saying Tim Sylvia actually shit himself twice in his career. I was not aware of that.
Well, we actually had Bobby Wombat, or no, who was it that got into a fight with Ronda and Edmond on that season of Ultimate Fighter? We had him on.
Dennis Hallman.
Dennis Hallman, right?
Superman Hallman. He didn't poop in his pants, but he wore that little banana hammock.
Well, no, yeah, but when he came onto our show, he was saying that the week before, his fighter that he was cornering pissed herself inside the octagon when she was choked unconscious. I mean, when a fighter's choked unconscious, anything can happen,
That does happen. I mean, that's the legend as far as Gene LaBelle and Steven Seagal. When he choked Steven Seagal out, Seagal lost himself. It was either the poop or the pee, number one and number two, or both.
So to answer the MMA hole's question,
here's Billy Crozier. It's going to happen to Lewis since he preloads with chicken wings before every fight. Preloads.
So, Ted, as we get towards the end of our show, I'd like to end it with one last segment. Of course, we're going to be previewing this weekend's card, and then we're going to hand it over to the chat room. So let's jump into this weekend's card. Do you want to start from the top, from the main event, Cowboy versus Till?
Sure, man. Yeah, let me just call it up here. Yeah, so we have Donald Cerrone versus Darren Till. Did you see when they squared off today? Cowboy could not help himself. He had to touch. He was like touching Till. He was touching him. I don't know. He was just like grabbing his arm and and Darren Till just stood there and like smiled at him. As opposed to I guess it was last week, GSP and Bisping. Bisping, grabbing GSP by the lapel and like feeling his arm, and GSP's like boof. But Darren Till just let Cowboy molest him basically.
This is a fight, and I'm going to stick by my word. You guys can yell at me as much as you want, but this is a fight that really doesn't make sense to me for Cowboy. I understand he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He does need a win. Till's pretty dangerous fighter, but he doesn't have a big name. So, Ted, I got to ask you, now that we're closer, now that it's a day or two away, are you more excited now to watch this fight?
I am, because of, a number of things. You look at Darren Till's record. He's 15-0-1. Okay, so essentially undefeated, except for
wait. He has a loss inside the octagon, doesn't he? Have a split decision loss? I thought.
Darren Till, no.
No? Oh.
He has a draw.
A draw. Okay, that's what it was.
Against Nicholas Dalby, which was fight of the night. Okay. At UFC Fight Night Holohan versus Smolka back in 2015.
Throwback.
Yeah, right. So he is essentially undefeated. He's 15 wins, 1 draw. That's it. Okay, so that's one thing. The other is that, like you said, Cerrone's coming off of 2 losses.
Till's also a decisionator, though. I mean, a lot of his fights go to decision. Now we get to see him in a 5-round fight. So
I think it's a classic. Maybe they're trying to set Cowboy up as almost a gatekeeper. He's the. But other people have argued, and I'm sure Ann would say this. No. He's still, despite his 2 losses, and the losses, the last 2 losses, he's still at the top of his game. He's a very experienced veteran. So that. Versus Darren Till, who's kind of a rising, possibly star, or a rising prospect in the UFC. So it's kind of that. To me, it's that kind of a matchup. The grizzled veteran versus the emerging star. So who's going to win?
Well, before these 2 most recent losses for Cowboy, which I believe were Robbie Lawler, and then the fight before that he lost to, which it was close. The Robbie Lawler versus Cowboy fight, it was close. I did think the judges had it right. And then before that, he lost to Masvidal, Jorge Masvidal.
Oh, good.
But before that, Ted, he wasn't losing fights unless it was for the championship. I mean, this is a guy who would only really choke under the big lights. So he definitely needs another win here. Somebody against Till, though, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. If he takes another L against Till, it's just going to be awful. 3 losses in a row in the UFC is not a good thing. I don't see the UFC getting rid of him, but maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to keep him as a gatekeeper. I mean,
right. I mean, he's the kind of Cowboy's a good guy to have around because he's always exciting, and he'll take fights at short notice. I mean, he supposedly, allegedly, has another fight already set up. He says,
"Fuck out of here, really?"
Right?
Wow.
The guy's insane. But apparently, because he spends money, as quickly as he earns it, he's got to keep fighting. But he's the kind of guy that the UFC loves because he'll help them out. He'll take fights at short notice, and but this kind of reminds me, and I don't want to compare. I'm not comparing fighting styles, but it kind of reminds me of when Cowboy took on Miles Jury. Miles Jury was another guy that was like, people were looking at him and saying, this guy could do well. He could go far. And maybe thinking that he could beat Cowboy, and Cowboy ended up beating him by unanimous decision at UFC 182. Of course, that was 2 years ago, and a lot can happen in that time. And Darren Till is not Miles Jury in terms of fighting styles.
I was saying the same thing when they matched him up against Rick the Horror Story, and we know how that one went through. The amazing combination to finish the Horror Story. So. Darren Till, he has great stand-up Muay Thai, and he's saying that Cowboy's screwed if he keeps it on the feet.
Right. He's saying that. Stewie Griffin has a clarification. He's saying he's not a gatekeeper; he's a stepping stone.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. He called Darren Till called Cowboys Muay Thai amateur, I believe it was.
Which is crazy, man. How crazy is that to say that?
It is. Yeah, I mean, I think he was doing Muay Thai. Cowboy Cerrone was doing Muay Thai. Well, I'm looking at his kickboxing record. Goes back to 2012. 2005. 2005 and 2006 is when he had some kickboxing fights. But I mean, that's his base, really. I think, huh? His base is Muay Thai.
Yeah, I'd say so. Look at his style. Is Muay Thai style. Muay Thai, you know what I mean? So to say that he has no chance on the feet and that his Muay Thai is amateur, just absolutely crazy. Ted, who else do we have on this card? I know there's a couple of...
He's trying to rile Cowboy up. He's just trying to get to him, you know what I mean?
Which isn't going to work. It never works for Cowboy.
In the co-main, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jody Esquibel.
Jody Esquibel, our girl from Invicta.
Esquibel, Eskimo.
She's actually the girlfriend of Mean Gene Keith Jardine.
Keith, the Dean of Mean Jardine?
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yep, that's his baby mama. I don't know if they have a kid together, but that's his old lady, so to say, as we say here in Connecticut. That's his old lady. She was actually on that season Ultimate Fighter with Joanna and Claudia. She didn't make it too far, but she actually lost in the first episode, but it was like a bullshit call by the judges. Keith was freaking out. So this is going to be an exciting fight, man. This is a big stepping stone for her to come into the UFC and fight somebody like Carolina, though. I mean,
yeah, right.
For her debut, damn.
Damn is right.
But Carolina needs a win. She really needs a win here.
Next down on the card, we have Jan Blachowicz versus Devin Clark. Blachowicz coming off of, oh my God, 4 losses in his last 5 fights. Loss, win, loss.
And that's what it seems like for the entire card, Ted. As we go down here, you're going to start to realize that all of these fighters are either on a 3-fight losing streak or losing streak or just recently having an L, or they're debuting. Every single fight, look through it. Every single fight, guys coming off a loss or they're debuting.
Right, with the exception of, say, Darren Till, and then the guy that's fighting Blachowicz, this guy named Devin Clark, who is only 8-1. He does have he lost to Alex Nicholson, and then he has 2 more wins in the UFC. So he's 8-1. So he's on a 2-fight win streak.
But it just seems like one of those cards where, seems like this might be it for those fighters that got the couple L's, and they're matching them up with somebody on their debut. So it seems like they're trading spots if they, get that win or get that loss. So
I know what you're saying, because then you go one fight down. Jonathan Wilson versus Oscar Pichota. Jonathan Wilson coming off 2 losses. He's 7-2, so his last 2 fights are losses. So that doesn't look too good. Yeah, it seems like this is a lower level card. Let's face it, But some interesting fighters here. Marcin Held is on this. Smiling Sam Alvey.
Oh my God, Ted! Did you see that he came out saying that he has to lose 35 pounds before the fight?
No, I did not see that. Sam Alvey said that.
35 pounds he has to lose before Saturday.
That's not right. I mean, that's worse than, well, let's see. I mean, today's Thursday. So Kevin Lee had to lose 19 in 1 day.
You're literally taking years off your life by doing stuff like that to your body.
Something's got to stop. Something's got to give here. Devin is not a fighting name, says Steve Google. Eddie, your mic is screwed, says Ann.
Yeah, I know. I know. I keep pulling it out.
She says she hears all sorts of shit in the background.
Really? It's probably just my fan. That's the only thing on in here.
Yeah, Steve says the card is weak AF.
Now you can't hear nothing in the background. I shut the fan off for you, Ann. But, yeah, guys, we're going to be live tweeting for this card. We usually do it every event, at least before, during, and after. I know that Ted does his live recap usually after the show, and I do my live recap. We had a couple people asking us for UFC 216 if any of us, either me or you, were going to be going live. So the answer is usually me and Ted are both going live on our YouTube channel. Ted here on his YouTube channel, or me on the Pure Evil MMA YouTube channel. So if you guys want to live tweet with us during the fight, make sure you do that. Follow Ted at Ted Czech. That's TEDCZECH, and me at EVil_Echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. And guys, we have a Facebook page now for Evil Intoxicated, so go check that out at Evil and Intoxicated. So Ted, what fight on this card stands out to you besides Cowboy versus Till that we should tell our listeners to really pay attention to?
Well, what about Artem Lobov versus Andre
Touchy-feely?
Yeah.
Andre Touchy-feely. That was my pick right there, man.
Artem Lobov. Conor's buddy. I mean, you look at his last 5 fights, it's loss, win, loss. He's now a 500 fighter. He's 13-13. And
he came into the UFC as a 500 fighter. I mean, when he was on the season Ultimate Fighter, he was like 10-10 or whatever. So, I'm not surprised. He really just goes in there to hype fans up. He can get a knockout any second. He had a really successful season, Ultimate Fighter, but since then, nothing really great coming out of his career besides he's Conor McGregor's buddy, knows how to talk a little smack. And
tonight versus Cub Swanson.
Yeah. But you know what, Ted? He came out with a picture this week, and I was like, oh, my God, man, you have such bad timing. came out with a picture on his Instagram of him holding a machine gun, saying something like, "The real weapon holding a real weapon," or something like that. And I tweeted him. I was like, "Man, you couldn't have picked a worse time to tweet something like that."
Yeah, too soon.
Too soon.
Massacre. Yeah.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? I'm surprised they put that fight on the undercard, Ted, and not on the main card. Artem versus Andre Touchy-Feely. Come on, that's pretty much a backup of season 22 Ultimate Fighter. You got somebody at Team Alpha Male fighting Conor's boy.
Oh, hey, look, Go says for me to keep an eye on my Twitter. He's gonna. I can just imagine what this is gonna be.
T-shirt ideas, guys. Let's see them.
Yeah. I could just imagine. It's gonna have something to do with bodily fluids. I just know it.
I can't wait.
I know I'm not giving him any ideas because he's already got these ideas in his head. You know, so that'll be a treat. I cannot wait for that.
Ted, you have Instagram, right? You're on Instagram?
I don't really use it a lot. You know, it's a matter of like how thin are you going to spread yourself? You know what I mean? You got Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn, you know, to some degree. YouTube. You know what I mean? It's like how many different platforms can a human being possibly be on? I don't do too much with Instagram, and I don't do any of the Snapchat business. To me, it doesn't make any. Look, I'm 47. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, why would you want to do something and then not have a copy of it? It disappears. Why do it if it disappears? Well, I mean, everything that I do, everything that you do is all about preserving it. You know, we do a podcast so that we can have a copy of it so that we can then distribute it.
Yeah.
We do other videos, YouTube videos, so that we can have a copy of it so that we can distribute it. So why would you want to do something and then poof, have it go away? That's stupid. That's on whatever the hell it's called, Snapchat.
The only reason why I'm asking if you have Instagram is because I want to see, and this is for our listeners too, for anyone to go find it. I want to see what you guys are coming up with, and probably the easiest way to you know, pick our favorite out of whatever designs are being sent is to put it on Instagram. So we'll figure all that out, guys. But make sure you please send some T-shirt ideas for Ted here, because we can have a lot of fun with this. So I'm looking forward to it.
MMA Holes likes Grinder, so that's, hey, you want to do that, MMA Holes, you go for it, dude.
Oh God,
there's anything wrong with that. You just go ahead and grind away on Grinder.
You know, I'm not even going to explain to the people who don't know what Grinder is, but Jesus, man. MMA Holes.
For gay people, which is great. I mean, then you know, they want to have their own space. That's fine.
There's all this lingo out there. My little brother was telling me about it. Like, they're like, call someone a bear. You call it bottoms. Just weird stuff, man. I just don't get any of it. There's this really funny video, matter of fact, on YouTube of a bunch of comedians that are reading Grinder messages. Just absolutely hilarious. Some of the pickup lines or things that people say to people are just vulgar. Just vulgar.
That's got to be funny. Oh, hey, by the way, Mike says hello.
What's going on, Mike? I hope you're feeling better, brother. So, Ted, let's move on to the end of this show. And you know what we like to do here. We're going to pass it up to our chat room. Take a couple questions from them.
Let me see if I can find something that's MMA related. Okay, one T-shirt idea is me flexing with MMA share on the top he is wearing.
What? What is MMA share?
Oh, that's that website that I used to. Okay. It's a message board, or a forum, and I used to post on there, and it was that was when MMA share was in its heyday when I was there, and I left and it went to shit.
I've never even heard of MMA share, so
see, there you go. Of course you haven't heard of it.
But I'll tell you what, anytime I Google something about MMA, your freaking face pops up.
Get out of here. Get out of here. So, let's see what else we got here. Oh, Billy Crozier's saying, can't wait Sam Alvey on this card. Hells yeah. Smiling Sam. I mean, as long as he survives that weight cut.
I mean, his girlfriend is winner of America's Next Top Model, and she's always in his corner helping him out. Always look forward to his post-fight speeches as well. Something straight out of a comic book. So always rooting for Sam. Always rooting for Tough Ed.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, he's a good guy.
That was the
the
best season Ultimate Fighter, man. In my opinion, the Rampage season, you had the Brandon Schaub on there. You had Kimbo.
Wait, he was with the heavyweights?
Wasn't he? Wasn't he on that season?
Oh, was it heavyweights and then another? Did they have two divisions?
I believe so. Look that up. I'm like positive that Sam Alvey was on that season. Not too many people were big fans of Sam on that season, I remember.
Huh. I don't know. I mean, because he hasn't. Where has he fought at like light heavyweight or? I just can't imagine him as a heavyweight.
Yeah, we should.
Oh, I gotta look up. Let me look
it up. I'm like trying to picture it in my head. I'm like positive he was on that season Ultimate Fighter.
No, he was on Carwin versus Nelson.
Okay. That's why I'm confusing it. I'm picturing Roy Nelson, who was on that season of Ultimate Fighter. That's why
I could see how you could say that. Yeah. No, he dropped down to welterweight to do the Ultimate Fighter.
Shane Carwin.
So he's more of a middleweight, that's what he's fighting at now. So yeah, Smiling Sam
Alvey. All right, guys. So let's take one more MMA question before we close this thing out. Put them things on them.
Let's see here. Orlando's asking, are we ever going to see Ted Czech vlogs? Like
video vlogs?
Like vlogs what? Like as in just my day-to-day life? I don't think you'd want to see that.
Nothing was better than when you got in that car accident and reported it. The reporter gets in car accident and reports it.
I had to, man. I just had to.
I'll never forget that. It just like popped up. I was like, what the hell? I called you. You was like, oh my God. The car was flipped on its back. You're sitting there just like all shook up. The ambulance started coming. So
yeah.
There's some good videos on your YouTube channel that aren't just MMA. You got some good stuff on there, Ted.
Well, thank you, Eddie. I appreciate it, man. Here's a legit question. I'll put it to you first, Eddie. Uriah Hall versus Vitor Belfort. Who wins?
That's so funny, Ted. That's something that I had written down to talk about tonight, and we didn't even get to it. So how about that? Vitor Belfort. Now, this is a fight where we don't know what fighter is going to be showing up. Are we going to see, the real Uriah Hall, the creative Uriah Hall, or are we going to see the one who's not pulling the trigger? I mean, his last fight, he had an amazing comeback. I was so happy for him, but let's face it, before that, he might have not been signed back with the UFC if he lost that fight. It would have been like 4 in a row. Then you have Vitor Belfort, who's pretty much in the same position, a guy that was going to retire or allegedly go to Bellator or something, and then decided last second after his last fight that, nope, he's going to be sticking with the UFC, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But both these guys really need to win. They're both in the same position. If I have to pick who's going to win, I mean, Vitor, in his last fight, he played a little smart. I mean, we're used to seeing Vitor explode out, just blitz you, and then get really tired towards the end of the fight. We didn't see that. We saw a smarter Vitor Belfort in his last fight. The same thing with Uriah Hall. He was able to come back and get that win. I don't know, man. I'm leaning towards Vitor here on this one.
Are you? Okay, because I talked about this earlier today, and I actually picked Hall. Just based on, Vitor on the downslide of his career. He's 40 years old. Uriah Hall, 7 years younger. And they both like to do that blitz, typically, like you were talking about. Hall likes to do it, too. We saw Hall do that against Gegard Mousasi. And so, I mean, it's kind of a coin flip. It's like who can do a successful blitz first. Well, I just don't see it getting out of the first round. So, but if I had to choose one, I'd pick Uriah Hall, just because he just hasn't been in the wars that Vitor has, and hasn't ravaged his body with steroids the way Vitor has. So I just think he has more athleticism, more energy, more vitality, speed. He's probably faster. I'd say he's faster than Vitor, probably stronger than Vitor, So I'm going with him.
I feel so bad for Uriah Hall. Early in his career, so much hype behind him. People were saying that he was going to be the next Anderson Silva. You had a lot of pressure on him, and everyone wanted to see the wheel kick. So every fight that he went in from that point on, he really wasn't able to do much with it. People were just expecting it, and then gets a little further on his career, and he's not pulling the trigger as much. He's afraid of getting knocked out again. So both these guys. I mean, I don't know what to expect. That is my point here. I have no idea what to expect. What version of these fighters are we going to see come that night?
It's a very good question. Billy Crozier is saying, and this might also be a factor, this is the last fight on Belfort's contract. So that might play into it as well. I think a lot of people sometimes underestimate the psychological aspects of the fight game. And, if a fighter goes into a fight saying, you know what, it's my last fight, maybe I'm not going to fight as hard, or, try to, get out of this without too many injuries, things like that,
I love fights like this, man. When fighters have their backs up against the wall, just picture that epic music playing in the background and those little quick shots of the fighters like walking out like Jose Aldo with their heads down, looking up, just knowing that this moment is so important to my next to my future in the next 2 years of my fight career. I mean, both these guys.
Oh, Eddie. Can't hear you, Eddie.
How about now? But I was just saying really quick that I love fights when both fighters have their backs up against the wall. I just picture like epic music in the background and just those little quick screenshots of the fighters walking out like Jose Aldo with their head down, just looking up and just realizing that this moment is so important to them. They need the win so bad. And when you got two hungry guys going in there at that level, I mean, you got to sit at the edge of your seat.
Right. So wait, let me make sure I understand you right, Eddie. So you're saying that's not the case here?
No, that is the case here. Both these guys need a win, very desperately need a win here. If they lose their next fight, who knows if the UFC is going to be interested in signing again? Like you said, Vitor's on his last fight of his contract. Uriah Hall, he has out of his last 5 fights, I think has 1 win.
Yeah, I think three. He had a win, 3 losses, then a win for Uriah Hall. But Vitor, I don't know if we're gonna. I think this is it for him. I think this is the end of the line. I don't think he's gonna try to pursue another contract. Or I guess he could go to Bellator and join the Jared Hall posse.
Oh,
right?
Go to Risen. You do follow Ian McCall. Go to Risen. Get in a Grand Prix or something. That's the Vitor that I think everybody wants to see.
Yeah, all right. I mean, he could very well either one, or maybe get a joint contract where it's part Bellator and part Ryzen. Because Ryzen doesn't. They don't do
true.
Shows.
That's true.
I wish there was more Ryzen.
I know.
I want to see more Ryzen.
I totally 100% agree, and it makes sense. If you go to Bellator, you're like signing with Ryzen. I love that deal. I think that's a great idea, and I think. Even somebody tweeted me earlier today, I think it was Brock Lesnar's teddy bear, matter of fact. These names that people come up with are just 1 in a million, man. But just saying, I miss TRT Vitor. I think a lot of people do. Once USADA stepped in, we've seen a lot of fighters change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. But, I mean, that's the level playing field that I think we need to have,
But there should also be that... the Japanese league, though, that people can watch if they want to see the TRTs, Vitors, and stuff like that. So,
that's
there's
true.
a market for it.
If he goes to Ryzen, I don't think they're really going to be tested.
Yeah, there's a market for it. You know what I mean? All right, Ted. I think that does it for us here on episode number 60 of Evil Intoxicated. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in here on the live stream, or if you're tuning into the podcast. On iTunes or Podbean. Make sure you subscribe down below on iTunes at Pure Evil MMA. And if you want to tune in and watch us live, Ted, you know what? Matter of fact, I wanted to bring this up. I've been liking this Thursday night thing that we've been doing. 10 o'clock on a Thursday, because we've been back and forth between Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll try to figure that out. But right now we're doing it on Thursdays. Maybe next week we'll do it on Wednesdays. We'll definitely let you know. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at EVil_Echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. And also at Ted Czech. That's TEDCZECH. All right, Ted. So last thing before we go, where are you going to be watching the fights this weekend?
Oh my God, I don't know. Maybe Buffalo Wild Wings. Maybe
you always
here.
go to B-dubs, man.
Sometimes I do. I mean, well, like May Mac, it was at somebody else's house. It's like a friend of a friend kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I was at some dude I'd never met before. Yeah. So who knows? How about you?
Well, you know what? Since I cover the fights, I do enjoy watching them alone, but I also enjoy going to friends' houses and, bringing a little notebook, bringing a bottle of booze, and doing it that way. But usually you do that for the big pay-per-view cards. I mean, a lot of my friends pick and choose what fights they're going to be watching. This is one that really isn't on the radar, so I'll most likely be sitting at home watching this by myself. But the good news is, if you have a Twitter account, you can sit there and talk with me and check out the recap show, either with Ted or me on Pure Evil MMA. Ted, thank you so much for the show tonight, episode number 60. I mean, 60 episodes together, man. Absolutely nuts. Guys, have a great night. That's Ted Czech. I'm EVil Eddie. Behave yourselves.